Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Claire and this is Higher Dimensional Mind. So I've had a lot of intel lately. I know I've been doing the interviews with Marduk, but I was busy during Christmas and I'm not sure if he's taken the hump with me, but I can't feel his presence anymore. So we'll see how that one goes. If he comes back, he comes back. But it's funny. This video's not about this, but I'll just start with this. When you're speaking to an entity, you get a chance to look inside their mind. There's an energetic connection between you and the entity. And you get to feel how it is, if you're empathic, you get to feel what it's like to be them. You feel like, this is a strange thing, right? I'm not digressing too much here, but when you're going through ascension, you will start to feel people. I'll give you an example. You're sitting in a cafe. Somebody comes and sits at the table behind you. Without even looking, you can feel that there's somebody there behind you. If you go a bit deeper, or when you go through ascension, sometimes you don't want to feel stronger, but it just happens, right? And you can feel that person. Now you can feel what the world feels like through their eyes. That's the best explanation. And I realised through going through all these changes that people feel the world completely different to each other. Like, one example is a guy sitting behind me. And I'm going through these ascension feelings and it's really strong. I feel like I'm being pressurised from outside energy pushing in on me. That feels uncomfortable already. It makes you feel like you're in a pressure cooker. Then you're feeling this energy and suddenly it's like you can even feel your head being different. So it's like you can feel the world in a different way. Like you might feel the world as a bit more of a D note than an A note. I'm going to explain the best I can because it's a feeling. I experience my reality from my perspective, how my energy interacts with it. And life to me feels quite light, quite singy-songy, tinkly, twinkly bells sometimes. It feels nice. Even when crappy things are happening, life itself, my experience of reality still feels quite tinkly. Nice, positive, optimistic. There's a feeling that goes through my body and through my mind, through my soul, that feels higher, light. Now, when I've got somebody sitting next to me who obviously sees the world a different way from me, you get a glimpse of how they feel it. And sometimes it's really heavy. Earth feels heavy. It's like dragging yourself through a thicker energy. And it's weird that we don't realise growing up. It's like how we see the world, right? I might look at something, I don't know, let's take this little guy's face I'm starting to make, right? I just do the basic, then I carve it. It's not the end product. Let's take his face. That to me is like a grey, right? A light grey colour, okay? Somebody might see that as really bluey. They see it as blue, so their eyesight is different to mine. They will see that as different. And how do you know that when I'm saying that's grey, you might see that as bright red, but your brain's been taught to recognise that bright red as being called grey. Do you know? So we see things, we don't know how anybody else sees colour. Just the same way we don't know how anybody else feels, what is their experience of being on Earth. And I think that's a really important thing to realise going into this ascension, is that people are experiencing the energy of Earth completely differently, so therefore may find it harder to navigate. Because on that example I gave you actually happened. And I was with one of my really good friends, and we were in IKEA together, and I had to say to her, I have to leave here, I actually can't cope. This is awful. And it wasn't that the guy's energy was awful, it's that his vibration was very low. And as a lower vibration, the world seems thicker and harder to navigate, harder to read people, harder to know what's going on in life. You feel more lost. You're less connected to source. Because I think that twinkly, light, energetic feeling is the connection to source that I have. So I can feel things from a higher perspective that feels lighter and not so difficult to navigate. That's the best explanation. Where some people are going to feel it's like walking through mud, they're going to feel lost, therefore they will react differently to you about each situation. That's the best I can do, right? But it's really mindful to think about this, because you might say, why are you reacting so bad? You know, why are you finding this so difficult to understand? Or what? Because their energy is at a lower frequency, and the earth is really like a thick soup, darker, and they do feel a little bit more lost than you. It's not something they can do to change their mindset. They have to do that on the energetic level. Only meditation and connecting to earth and raising their frequency will allow that shift. If they don't change their energy frequency, their mind will find it very hard to change. I realise this when teaching people. I will teach certain concepts, certain ways of thinking, certain ways of behaving, and they think they're doing it. They're like, yeah, I've got that, I'm thinking that. But you're watching their life and you're like, you haven't got this. You haven't got what I told you, because you're still reacting like that. You're still doing this. So you're nowhere near what I'm trying to teach you. You're not grasping it. And they can't grasp it because their frequency is so low that it's something that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in their reality. Therefore, they think they've got it because they're at the top of what they're able to achieve, but they haven't actually met this state of mind yet. They haven't experienced it. It doesn't exist. They don't know other people feel this way. They think everyone feels the same way as them. And everyone thinks that everyone feels the same way as them. I've made that mistake countless times, thinking that people see the world the same way I do, and it's no bother, you know. They're like, oh, this is a terrible situation. No, really. You seem like you're higher up and you've got a higher perspective and you see it. Now, I'm not saying that like an ego way, like I see that and you don't. Everybody can achieve this higher state of thinking, but you have to do the energy work, and then it just opens up and you're like, oh, yeah, I see it now, by raising your frequency. That's not what I want to talk about today, but seems Spirit wants me to talk about that. So, what I do want to talk about is, which ascension path are you choosing? I suppose that actually rolls quite nicely onto what I'm going to talk about. What path? You still have time to choose your ascension path or not ascension path. It's not a bad thing, and it's not a good thing. It's only good or bad to you. So which one are you choosing? The ascension path that leads to the timeline that leads to ascension has certain rules associated with it. It's like the difference me saying to you, do you want to apply for the national certificate level at college, or do you want to apply for university and do a degree? Which one do you want to do? Because one's going to be kind of, a little bit of work put in. The other one's going to be a lot of work put in. It's not something that you're not born to go there, right? It's not like you were born to do that. You may be born to do that, but you were born to work hard at achieving that. So what do you need to do to be on the ascension timeline? Firstly, no bad thoughts. This might sound ridiculous, but bad thoughts, telling lies, bad actions, like bad choices, when you know better, but you choose the easy path. These are all things that you must not do if you're wanting to be on the ascension timeline. You have to achieve a higher state of consciousness, which means meditation. And I know some people might find it really hard to meditate. It's like, oh, I can't concentrate. I can, stay focused on the light. I can't use visualizations. my imagination. I start thinking of all these stupid things. I start thinking about folding my socks up. Did I put the socks in the basket? Did I put my jeans into wash? All these things are going to come flooding through your mind. And it's becoming a master of your own mind. You need to become a master of your own mind. I was talking to, she's a living, this little girl, and she was saying to me, me and my brother are always fighting. Our brother's the same age as my daughter. They're boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And we're out at a play centre, and she went, we're always fighting. We're always fighting each other. And she says, we just can't help it. And I says, oh, interesting. I said, so if you're not controlling your mind, who is? And she stopped and she made a face like that wasn't a concept to her. She'd never even considered that. It was not something she'd considered. She was shocked, and it really took her back, and she kept looking back at me going, you know. And I know she'll go away with that information now and start thinking about everything she does and says, am I in control of my mind? Where did that come from? You know, because your subconscious kind of rules you. That means you're not in control of your mind, right? Let's not get into who is. That's a whole other sea, that one. So, what you need to do is bring yourself into the vibration of compassion, understanding, non-judgment, unconditional love. What does that mean in a day-to-day life? Because fair and well, people like me sitting behind a camera telling you, oh, you must have unconditional love and no judgment, but without a context, that's difficult. So let me give you an example. You are two people who have a child, because this is the biggest challenge any of us face, okay? You have a child, and one of you has reached breaking point with exhaustion. That person starts to react in an unpleasant manner because they feel that on the end of their nerves, they are tired, very tired, and their partner doesn't seem to recognise that. They're saying, I need help, they're saying, I'm tired, and the partner's not seeing it, recognising it. And it's very easy for that one partner who's tired to feel unloved, to go straight into the I'm not appreciated, I'm not respected, they're not seeing it, they don't love me, they're not, you know, all these feelings that come with that, they don't respect me. And then it's very easy then for a battle to ensue. This is a very common thing, which I think probably all of you will have experienced if you have children, because one of you is getting up early, one of you is staying in bed. Now, the really important thing here for lack of judgment is we have no idea what that other person is also experiencing. We can only say we've hit that point and they're not seeing it. But we have no idea how they're managing that stress either. If you live in the same house, you will both be experiencing the tiredness, the stress, you're swimming in the same pool. You're both going to be experiencing the same energy, and you've probably both got the same child who's waking up or not eating their tea or not doing this or not doing that. You're both stressed at this. So rather than go into the 3D mindset, which is the timeline of staying on Earth, which is just feeling hard done by and not respected, and you want to be on the timeline of, are they feeling the same as me? Because you don't want to assume that the person you chose to have children with is an absolute twat and a selfish idiot, right? You don't want to be thinking that. Why would you have chose to be with them if that was the type of person they were, right? You didn't. You chose them. You were in love with them. You saw their good qualities. All of a sudden now, all you're seeing is their bad qualities because you're tired and you're frazzled and you're at the end of your tether. So rather than assume that they're doing it out of malice, you might want to think, are they feeling the same as me? Possibly. Are they doing the best that they can? Probably. And recognising that. It's really easy to go into victim mode. I see it everywhere I look, people automatically go into the protect the self mode. It's like, why do you feel like you need to protect yourself so much? Why can't we move to a world where I'm protecting you and you're protecting me? That's the deal that you should make. You watch my back, I'll watch yours. Because you know you'll be looked after then. Because we're each looking after each other. We're not just having to be an island looking after ourselves. Then we're into the fight mode with each other. So consider how they're feeling. Consider that they are also frazzled and they are at the end of their tether and they're needing some support. Not this, well, you didn't support me, so I'm not going to support you. Because that's playground mentality. That's what you do when you're 7 or 8. That's not what we do as adults. So for the ascension timeline, it's considering how they are also feeling. Why think that, right? Why do you need to be like that in order to ascend? Because what is ascension? It is becoming a being that could partake in a larger society that is service to others. If the higher mind means thinking of the whole and not thinking of the self, because you want a community or civilization that is living in harmony. The only way to live in harmony is for everyone to be considering each other, looking out for each other, and then there's no arguments, there's no bad feelings. Everything is energy. Your thoughts are energy, your words are energy, your feelings are energy. We are living in a quantum field. If you want the proof, go and look at an atom. Is the atom a solid physical thing? We are made of atoms. If an atom is 99.9% space, then we cannot be physical. We are not hard, like physical. You think a bit of wood is solid, right? We are physical. We might have we might have liquids and stuff going about us, but we're really just energy. So we're living in a world of energy. How do animals communicate with each other? How do they move about with the electromagnetic field? They follow the North Pole, they follow the South, they follow magnetic currents. They are aware that they are living in an energy frequency. Obviously, right? They're aware because they follow the magnetics. Their receptors are tuned in to Earth magnetics. We should be, we're not. So how do you get to that place? How do you get to the place where you are tuned in energetically so you don't have to use this? Because this will lie to you. This tells you what you need to do to preserve you. Okay? Now, I'm not getting at anyone here who's having problems in relationships where one person's just absent all the time. They seem to not, they have a life outside and they seem to be joyfully happy. I don't mean that. I mean when both of you are in the same position, doing the same work, but you might be doing it different ways or reacting to things differently, or you just feel absolutely exhausted and they're exhausted and they're not holding each other up. You're knocking each other down the first chance. That's a daily thing that every one of us suffers. How do we... I suffer that way too, not suffer. I have those situations. I have, 2 older boys, a 6-year-old daughter. I've now got another not teenage, he's 22 or something, boy who's my son's friend, who's now living with us lodging. I've got an extra person now coming to make a mess. And there's situations, where I'll be like, they just left that. Who are they leaving that for? Me? Is everything left for me? I'll have those thoughts because, I'm a human being, right? And I'm going to be like, but the difference is I'm not going to go away feeling all hard done by, or I will say, oh, by the way, I just left that for you to clean up. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. You just say it without any bad feelings. You're pointing something out. Oh, can you please not leave your washing on the kitchen floor? Because I prepare food in this room. Yeah, sorry, all these things that you have to say, right? But you don't feel bad about it. You don't go away thinking, fucking little, you don't do that. Because that's playground antics, and that is the one that's going to keep you in the 3D earth, where you clearly still have to learn. You just have to learn about energy and learn about what society needs to be at peace. That wouldn't be being very peaceful if I was to do that. So I won't be going to the timeline that's going to be peaceful, because I won't match it. I'll find it too difficult. It will be too difficult. So, okay, that's that point, okay? I hope I'm clear. I'm probably as clear as mud here. But the thoughts that you're thinking in your head are transmitted into the ether. So if you're thinking bad thoughts, doesn't matter if you're, like, oh, they won't know. I'm not being nasty. I'm not making somebody feel terrible. I'm not telling them I think they're a waste of space, but I'm thinking it. Maybe it's better you just say it. But are you being understanding? Are you being compassionate? Because you have no idea what's going on in that person's mind. You're just judging them on your perceptions of their behaviour. You have no idea. Even some people that choose to be out all the time away, perhaps they just can't cope with responsibility. They are really struggling with the responsibility, and they're using escapism. That's not something to chastise. They need help. They're needing help. And you chose to be with them as their life partner. You should help. So, I hope I'm not making you switch off the video because it sounds like I'm lecturing. I'm not. I've been learning of my guides since I was about 6. And they're very strict on me. They are more strict on me than I'm being on you now. I can just be sitting daydreaming and I'll get a blue flash and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I was going down that road because I was starting to think in a martyr mindset, or I was tinkering on judging somebody for their behaviour, and it's like, why? Why are they doing it? What's in their heart? What's in their mind? What are they struggling with? And it's not, it's not a bad thing to consider how everyone's struggling. I don't turn my back on people because I don't like their behaviour. I might move away from their space to get away from their energy, but in my mind, in my heart, I won't turn away from them because I'll think, what does that person need? Why are they struggling so bad? They can't have a happy life because they're doing this, this and this, and they're not bringing themselves happiness. They're living in a miserly mindset. They're living in a poor me. They cannot be happy. Can I help from a distance? Can I send some higher frequency energy? Can I maybe advise them to start meditating and connect to the source field and get some higher vibration into their being so they can shift that mindset? So no judgment. No judgment. People that are going to be staying on the 3D timeline are just not ready to open up to that higher energy, or they're refusing to meditate, refusing to do that work because society's told them it's a load of rubbish, or that's airy-fairy, that's not going to get the work done. We need to put our defences up. There's bad people everywhere. Get your fences round you. Protect yourself from all those bad people. Someone's going to get you at some point, if you let your guard down. That mentality is one of fear. Expecting the worst, expecting people. And the sad thing is that magnetically you will pull that towards you. You will open the possibility, you'll open the door of possibilities for that to happen in your life. So therefore it will. If you're thinking that, people, all men are like this and they're going to do this and they're all like that, you will open it. That person probably wouldn't have done anything, but you've opened the door for that. You've planted the seed, you've put it out there, you've sent it to them by thinking of them. You've assumed they are going to do this and this and this, so therefore you've opened that door, you've planted seeds, and that may happen because of the expectation you have of them doing that. So that's a shame. I mean, anything it can be they're going to leave their socks on the floor. I know they're going to leave their socks on the floor, and therefore that's it's in your pool now, that intention for their socks to be left on the floor, and they will probably absent-mindedly leave it, whereas they had a great intention to lift them. I know that sounds really silly, but it does work that way. It really does work. You're putting your thoughts out there. It's a frequency. That's why when you move into a new house and you can say, oh, I can feel this house has a feeling about it, then that feeling is who lived there before. The walls do soak in the energy. They tell a story. You go in and go, oh, I get a bad feeling from this place, because of the energy of the people who polluted that space before you entered it. So they've been polluting each other. You're dirtying the waters if you have bad thoughts. So you want to go on the ascension timeline, then you have to start taking control of your mind. Now, I wondered why back in 2010, 2011, my guides were telling me constantly to make videos about the ego and how to lose the ego. I'm like, but this is nothing to do with ascension. This is nothing to do with what's going to happen to the world and how the society is going to crash and crumble. And why am I not telling them this? You're telling me that Earth is going to go through a great reset. You're telling me the financial system's going to go through a great reset. You're telling me they plan to kill us all. Why am I not telling people this? And they're saying, you have to prepare the mind. So when they do hear this information, they're not going to react aggressively or angry or fearful. Or if you prepare their mind now to see the world through a different lens, to understand the nature of reality and understand how the mind plays tricks on you and get people out of the dog eat dog, attack their neighbour's mindset, you won't have the riots in the streets that we're showing you. I was like, okay, that sounds fair. So I did. So I agreed and I made all the videos on losing your ego. And I think people got annoyed with me that I'm making all these videos on how not to be dog eat dog, and because a lot of them were still thinking they should be because that's what keeps you safe. So it really riled people up. And other people are thinking, why are you making so many videos on this? Especially people that knew me and I was telling them all these prophetic dreams I was getting. And they're like, why are you not putting those videos out? Because I'm not meant to yet. That's going to happen. Whether I tell you or not, this is all going to happen. So me telling you 10 years ago that we're going to go through, I think I did mention it, but we're going to go through a great reset, and my dreams on the queues of people waiting to get jabbed, that's coming. Even if you did watch me back then, you wouldn't remember it when all this happened anyway. But hopefully people did start thinking about how they were thinking and how they were discerning and how to read the energy rather than just look at what's happening. Because we're at a really critical time right now. There's a lot of things coming that is going to really, really test you. And some of the things I've seen that are on our doorstep is mass confusion. I see things as, now I usually get things 10, 20 years ahead of time, right? Give you plenty time to get round it in your head and understand it and prepare for it. They've given me so much time. Like I was listening to Penny Kelly's interview, like the chat with, forget her name, that's really bad, very sorry. Her friend does the videos with her, they're having a chat and I'm listening to it going, that's everything that I was being told 15 years ago. And 10 years ago I was putting videos out mentioning these things. I'm like, why did they tell me so far ahead? Why tell me so far ahead of time, 20 years? I was filling cupboards with bottles of water and rice back then for the food shortages, There's no food shortages then, they're happening now and they're going to continue to get worse. But I was getting ready back then, so I'm like, why tell me so ahead of time? Like, it takes a long time for the subconscious to get really used to something. And if they want people like me and you to be the ones at the calm in the storm for all the rest of the people, we have to be calm. And I suppose so far ahead in time, knowing something's happening is giving you time to get used to it psychologically, not, because when things happen all of a sudden, you go into cognitive dissonance, you don't really know how to handle it or what to do. So hopefully by now we're all very aware that it's coming, we're not going to be shocked. Hey, I bet you if 15 UFOs just started to fly over your city, big ones, you'd be like, oh, it's the alien card. You're not going to run in and start phoning everyone screaming and have to run to the toilet and, go into a panic, scream, start running to get your kids from school. You won't act in terror. Because you're like, I know what this is. It's another part of the theatre. It's fine. This is all just playing out as it's always been going to play out. And if it's bad guys coming, they won't really be. The good guys will take them out. So you know now, I'm sure you know now, that if you're to see lots of bad UFOs, it's just probably Project Blue Beam. Or, But the minute they started to attack us, if they were shooting down and attacking us, there's multiple other people up there that will not allow that to happen. So if you've done all your homework and you've connected yourself and you've got your own answers through, not to be, you could just stroll down the street like it's just a normal day and people are going, look at her or him. Did they not see it in the sky? Yeah, I see it. But, why be scared? Don't be scared. Go to the shop anyway. Buy your milk. Come home. Make your cup of tea. Scroll through Telegram. See if anyone else has posted it in their countries. No fear. No fear, because we're just playing out our roles here. We know where this is going, right? We know we've won. We've already won. I think if you feel that, take away the mind. Take away the mind. Take away your perceptions. Take away your fear, right? And feel it. Where do I feel things are going to go? 5 years' time. Let's look at 5 years' time, where we're going to be. Do I feel I'm going to be in camps, re-education camps? No, I don't feel that. I feel sunshine and smiles and happiness and freedom. I feel freedom. I feel a good feeling. So when we're on different timelines, are we going to different places? Possibly. Very possibly. Some of us may phase into the AM frequency because we only see AM. We see the joy, we see the goodness, we see the light, we see the happiness. So we will keep moving further and further away from the dark timeline because we're only seeing the good. So therefore the darkness will start to fall away from us and will no longer be in our reality field because we're not looking for it, we're not seeing it. We're seeing the joy, we're seeing the community. We will phase out of that. You can live on a planet with the same people and have a completely different see differently, experience different things because of your mindset. So if we've got all this energy coming from space and it's changing our DNA, your DNA will change according to your mindset. That sounds probably a bit silly, right? You think energy coming in, changing my DNA. But if you're thinking of positive things, then it will change your DNA to match that. It will be changing it to that frequency. Rather than we're going to have to live in caves and have sticks and bows and arrows and crossbows and we're going to have to fight for our life. Well, yeah, you're going to now because that's where you're taking yourself. I mean, this is a question I always tell my kids, or I'll ask my kids. If you have 50-50 chance of something happening, right, then what's your mind going to do? Are you going to, if you know absolutely 100% that the sky's going to fall down, right, in 3 years. It's going to fall down, the sky's going to fall down, and you're going to have to run and tell the king. Have you read that book, Chicken Licking? It's funny. Anyway. So, are you going to spend those 3 years hiding under your duvet, in terror, being sick, distancing yourself from family? What's the point in doing anything because we're going to die when the sky falls down, right? Or are you going to spend those 3 years having fun, meeting friends, doing everything that you want to do, experience, being kind to people, cleaning up your karma? Because the outcome's the same for both choices, both decisions you make. Which way you choose to be, the outcome's the same. So how are you going to live leading up to that? So it's the same thing now. We can imagine we're going to be living in death camps and all this, right? And it's probably not going to happen. But if it does happen, then, why waste today? Worrying. Praying for what you don't want. So isn't it better to be living with the optimistic timeline that everything's going to be great and try and pull that timeline? The more of us that are thinking of this really optimistic timeline, the more we're going to pull that into a reality. Just like the split theory. When you're observing something, it changes. Now, does it change due to your expectations? On a quantum level, do things change due to your expectations? So does reality change due to your expectations? It's not so difficult to believe that things can change due to your expectations. This would happen depending on what you believed more. I mean, people believe in the law of manifestation. It's about absolutely believing it with not a single doubt. You don't even question how it's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen, and it will happen. It's how reality works. So if you want to go on the ascension timeline, get your mind thinking about ascending. What you need to do to get yourself into that mindset. Look, I love my jumper. Mindset switch. It makes me look really big today, but I don't care. It's a mindset switch. You need to be doing your mindset switch, changing to the optimistic timeline if you want to go there. If you still feel like it's all too much for you and you want to go through the 3D experience and learn the hard way through having to fight for your life or having to suffer or having to see the world in a dark way and still keep... Maybe you're too scared to take your fences down still. Because, same thing, if I take my fences down, the neighbours might come and steal my carrots. Well, there's a possibility they won't steal your carrots. Maybe they'll come in with potatoes. So there's always two things. There's the optimistic and there's the pessimistic. And perhaps by thinking, I keep taking my fences down and the neighbours are going to bring potatoes to match my carrots, I'll draw that into me. I'll bring that awareness, I'll open the door to that coming into my reality. I've now opened it. But if you've got fences up, you've closed your doors to every possible reaction or inevitability because of your fear. You've only left the door to the fear open for the crap to come in. You've not opened the door to the potatoes being brought to you. I hope that makes sense. So, I've got somebody pulling on me here for chatting. I need to see who it is, but I think I've got another video to make after this on a completely different subject by who's pulling on to me. I think they want me to talk about what we've seen happen. Things that are going to happen. They're trying to put things in my head. So I'm seeing gates. I'm seeing gates. Okay, what are those gates? Those gates have a crest. Oh, okay. I'm seeing a crown, and I'm seeing the crown on William. Okay, so you're telling me William's going to be coronated. What a strange thing to tell me when I'm talking about ascension. I'm not being negative to you. So you're showing me William with the crown on. Okay. So you're showing me a timeline marker then. Okay, so that you've got a reason for this. William's wearing the crown. What happens next? You're showing me a sword get laid down on the ground. A sword's getting laid down. Is that a... That's okay. So when you lay the... I took that wrong. Okay. I would have thought a sword getting put on the ground is somebody giving up. But you're not. You're saying it's a challenge to battle. Okay, so they're putting their sword down, lying it down as if say a challenge for a battle. Here, show me the word revolt. Revolt. This is across the sea. Across the sea from me. Okay, so would that be Europe? Getting a tick. Okay, so Europe's going to revolt. The people are going to revolt. Okay, I'm seeing it's not even like people are just. Yeah, because the sword's going down, so it's not a weapon. It's not a war of weapons, but you're putting the challenge out there to fight. Okay, I feel like the people are just going to... It's like they're just going to carry on living regardless of what rules are being made. That's what I'm saying. It's like, say, a massive crowd of people, but they're all singing and walking nice, right? They're and there's a sign saying government says walk this way, and they all look at it but just keep walking that way anyway. So they're not doing it out of... They're just continuing to live as they want, and they're ignoring the rules. And now you're showing me people in power are panicking because of that, because they're not... People aren't fighting, so they can't go out and fight them back. I'm getting some people will fight, but mainly people will just carry on with how they want to live, how they think life should be. Okay, fair enough. Anything for anywhere else in the world? I'm seeing soldiers marching. Now you're reminding me there of okay, that's fast marching in lines. That to me is armies on the streets. Armies are on the streets. You're showing me that was at the, is that Australian flag? It looks like a British flag up in the corner of, and I'm seeing the word America. Okay, so America as well. So that'd be Australia and America. They're both going to get martial law. Yes. Okay. And you've shown me martial law in America for a long, long time. It's coming because of something to do with Congress, something to do with decisions made and arguments, and they have to bring in the military because dissolving of government, the government will dissolve without, very quickly, it will dissolve very quickly because of, you're saying the word legislation, but I'm getting a feeling off you there. It's to do with it's some kind of corruption, but I'm not getting the right words here. Something to do with the law. Something to do with the law that they've found something in the law that they've gone against. Something that someone's highlighted and it's something it's stopped. It's like a train moving along nice and steady, and then somebody finds something and it rings the bell and it's like, oh, we actually legally can't do this. We legally can't do this because it's like they forgot to sign a signature. It's like, oh, I'm seeing it's like if you're buying a house and you've got all the deals of the house, but then you're about to move in and then your lawyer realises that you haven't signed it. Or you're about to marry somebody and, you know, like in Sweet Home Alabama, and the lawyer's death, you haven't signed your divorce certificate, so therefore you can't legally marry. It's that kind of thing. They can't do something because of legalities, and therefore they have to bring the military in to keep peace because the government sit and dissolve basically because of this legal discrepancy. Okay, then you're showing me still waters after that. Still waters, so it's going to be, still waters would represent a time of indecision and people just being quiet, whispering, not knowing what's going on. Everyone kind of hushed whispers of what's happening now, what's going on, you know, like this indecision. I think this is going to cause quite a big problem, I think, because after this, states are going to become independent. It's going to cause states to become independent. I wonder what it is. Will you tell me what it is? No, you'll see. Okay, they do this a lot to me. You'll see. You'll see. We'll give you half the story and you can watch it unfold. Otherwise you'll be bored. That's true. I would be very bored. Just sitting going, okay, yep, that now. It's a good adventure. This whole thing that's happened to us, this would not have... If this didn't happen, there'd be a lot of people still thinking that a 40-hour week is perfectly reasonable. Going to work all those hours, having a couple of hours with your kids, but you can afford to buy that great telly you want, or you can afford to buy shoes. You know, we've realised through all this that life is, we've been controlled by these monsters that are sitting in their ivory castles with all the money packed around them and all the rights, and they don't break rules. Well, they do break them, but there's no you know, reaction to them breaking rules. They kind of get away with what they want. You go and take an apple at a shop because you're starving, eat it, you're probably to spend 2 weeks in prison. So I think people have realised the unfairness of the society. Okay. I'm just seeing the water still. Water's creeping in, a little bit more. They're saying some of you are going to have to move because the water's just going to become a pest. It's the waters are coming in more and more. It's not going to be a tsunami. It's just the water's creeping more and more. It says in the next 5 years, lots of people will be displaced because the sea comes in further now. Lakes are flooding from underground streams and taking over whole areas, and you will have to move. So start saving for moving house. Look for places higher up. It's going to keep you from getting wet socks. Okay, that's all for now. I went on far too long, as usual. Anyway, have a really lovely day, and I will see you later.